So, thinking about now what you might do with your degree at the end of it. Hopefully you'll be successful, and you'll come out with perhaps already some ideas how you might want to apply that new knowledge. But here's just some thoughts to take away with you to have a think about. I started on the path of working in the environmental field back in the 1970s with an environmental science degree. Some of you might have environmental science degrees. At the time I did my degree, there were no jobs in the environmental field at all. There were no people that held the title environmental scientist. It didn't really exist. But within about 10 years or so, then those sorts of jobs started to spring up, particularly jobs around things to do with waste, and some jobs to do around things to do with energy efficiency. Those seem to be the mainstays. So environment started to make its place on the job map, if you like. It started to create its place. As we went into the 80s and early 90s, then this broader notion of sustainability came about, and there are still, continue to be, jobs and openings coming up in sustainability where the environmental imperative is married with the economic and the social imperative to see how we can actually develop companies, organisations and societies that are sustainable into the future. So that could be something that you might want to think about with the skills that you've learnt through this degree, and maybe any other skills you've brought with you. You may think about applying it in terms of sustainable development. It's important to say at this point that there are quite a number of words used in this new world of the green economy, and sometimes they mean similar things to people, and sometimes they mean quite different things. So it's very useful to look at the job descriptions in detail to see just how the organisations that are asking for these posts to be filled, how they view them, what they view as being the core and important parts of the work. So in the more recent past, sort of the late 90s and into the 2000s, the noughties, carbon has become a very key word, carbon and of course climate change. So within the job market, you'll now see a number of employment opportunities that have either carbon or climate in their title. Some of those tend to be really quite specialist, and some of them are science-based, but others are more to do with looking at the economic basis, or indeed looking at policy issues as well. You'll also see this, and no doubt have already seen this notion of CSR, or corporate social responsibility, as it might, as we might gather. Corporate social responsibility tends to be something that's coined by organisations in the private sector. Sometimes it's coined as just corporate responsibility. They've taken the social out because they see it as being social and environmental. And certainly CSR posts within organisations tend to sit either within or around the public affairs department. Sometimes they're attached to marketing and things of that ilk, very much looking at corporate reputation, very much linked with things like sometimes philanthropy in certain parts of the world, or linked into organisations being more involved with their communities as well as the environmental side of things. So that might be something of interest and something that you might want to look at. But just the notion of the words green economy, which are of course part of this degree title, is a fairly modern terminology, but one that we're seeing more and more used more and more in various circles, in various contexts, certainly used in the context of economic development, used in the context of low carbon, used in the context of policy development as well. So there are more and more opportunities building on the back of what people see as the engine which will drive sustainability, i.e. the green economy. And that of course takes into account many of the things that you will have been learning about in the last year or two, and things like clean technology, things like biodiversity, an upsurge in the understanding of the importance of our natural resources. All of those aspects are now coming together and being better understood and being given more space to grow within different societal structures. So there are opportunities opening up all the time, but this is still early groundbreaking times, and that's good from one point of view, because it means that you are going to be in the early wave of adopters for this. You will be first off the block, if you like. There aren't that many people that came before you. In my own experience, I've been working in this field now since the early 1990s, so just over 20 years. And I have seen this sector grow from something which was almost all but unknown into multifaceted, multi-channeled, multi-million pound possibility in terms of of the marketplace and the sector it represents. So there is everything to go for, there's everything to gain, and there are many opportunities. All I would say is keep a sense of openness and curiosity, and remember that sometimes you can actually manufacture your own jobs and decide what your own role is going to be. And it may be that certain parts of what you've learnt on this course fire you up with enthusiasm to such an extent that you actually go and create your own role. And good luck with any of those paths, whichever you decide to take.